Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is the second video on governmental and not for profit accounting, and we are going to talk at length about government wide financial statements, funds financial statements, comprehensive annual financial reporting for state and local governments, federal government financial statements, and not for profit organizations' financial statements. Please like, subscribe, and share my channel to search for accounting lessons and hit the notification bell button to alert you for the latest video. For all of your questions, comments, and suggestions, please put them in the comment section below. And for webinar and guest speaker invites, please send me a message at accountingamir@gmail.com. Accounting is AK. We hope that this video help students in their academic development and teachers in enhancing their lesson plans and teaching methodologies. We hope that this video help aspirants of CPA, AICPA, ACCA and CMA programs. We also hope that this video help students of Masters in Financial Accounting, Masters in Taxation, Masters in Governmental Accounting, and students who have joined the training courses of Saudi Organization for Certified Public Accountants, SOCPA, and other accounting program aspirants. We also hope that this video help fresh graduates who have joined governmental or not for profit organization. Let us start with what are the state government financial statements. State government prepare two sets of financial statements. These are government wide financial statement and funds financial statements. These statements are part of the comprehensive annual financial report, and I will be using the annual comprehensive financial report of New Jersey for the year 2021 to support the explanation of the concept. You can see that the basic financial statements include government wide financial statement. The government wide financial statement comprises of statement of net position, previously called statement of net assets. In for profit organization, we call it balance sheet. The second is the statement of activities, and in for profit organization, we call it income statement. Next, you can see that there are other basic financial statements uh, that is called the fund financial statements, and we have governmental funds financial statement, proprietary funds financial statements, fiduciary funds financial statements, and component in units. Inshallah, we will talk about funds in detail in the next video. So, the state of New Jersey prepares 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 balance sheets. If you can recall, in the case of business organization, we prepare only one balance sheet. Not only this, the state of New Jersey prepare one, 3, 4, and 5. 5 income statements. Let us compare the government wide financial statement with that of the business organization. And I have selected Aramco consolidated balance sheet. So we have the consolidated balance sheet of Aramco, and we are going to loop in the government wide financial statement of New Jersey. So if you look into the statement of net position of New Jersey, we have current assets, we have non-current assets, and we have current liabilities and non-current liabilities. In the case of a business organization, that is Aramco, we see we have non-current assets, we have current assets, we have non-current liabilities and current liabilities. But look at the shareholders' equity. We don't find shareholders' equity in statement of net position of New Jersey. Rather, we have net position. So, if you compare the two, we have shareholders' equity in the case of business organization as there are owners. In case of government, there are no owners, and that's why assets minus liability is equal to net position and not stockholders' equity. Further, the net position is split into three parts. We have net investment in capital assets, we have restricted for some activities, and then there are unrestricted. In addition, the assets and liabilities of government wide financial statement is split into two activities: governmental activities and business type activities. And then we can also see in the last column we have component units. You will not see the assets and liabilities for a profit organization being split into activities or component units. Next, let us talk about the statement of activities in governmental accounting, and we call it as statement of activities and not income statement. Now, in the first column, we can see that we have governmental activities, we have business type activities, and we have component units. So, if you look into the statement of net position, the columns have been flipped. You see, we have governmental activities, we have business type activities, and we have component units in a row, while this has been flipped into a column in the statement of activities. Next, let us compare the governmental accounting statement of activities with the statement of income statement of Aramco, if a business organization. In case of a business organization, the income statement starts with revenue. In government, it starts with expenses and not revenues. So in government, it is expenses minus program revenues. It is opposite. Here we have revenue minus all the costs that may be there, and then that's how we get the net income. But in the case of government statement of activities, we have expenses minus program revenues. Now, what you can see is that the New Jersey government, I would like to put the two pages together for um, we have the statement of activities on page number 34, and it continues to the next page as well, and I put them in the same row so that it is easy to look at. So we have two pages, and both pages are for statement of activities. And what you can see that the New Jersey government has incurred losses. You see, we have expenses, we have program revenues. Expenses minus revenues is, you can see that they have recorded losses in all the governmental activities. Except for one. And same is the case with the business type activities as well. Although they have made some money through component units. Let us see how the New Jersey government is going to make up for these losses. We have losses in the governmental activities and we have the losses in the business type activities, and these losses are set off from the general revenues and transfers, as these revenues are for the entire government. So expenses are program specific while revenues are general revenues. The net assets at the bottom that you can see over here in the statement of activities, these are tied to the statement of net assets, and I will show you here to the statement of net position rather. So we have, you can see the total, you see the value, we have the same numbers. We have governmental activities, business type, total and components, and same is the case here as well. I would like to add one more thing over here. If you can recall, in business organization, we have deferred revenues and deferred expenses. In governmental accounting, we call it deferred inflow and deferred outflows. We have deferred outflows and we have deferred inflows in place of deferred revenues and deferred expenses. Next, let us talk about the basic features of financial statement. And first of all, we are going to talk about government-wide financial statements. Now, these statements are intended to provide an aggregated overview of a government's net assets and changes in net assets. It provides a broad view of the state operations similar to business financial statements. It reports both long and short term information regarding the state's overall financial position for the year. In government wide financial statements, there are two statements. One is the statement of net position, and The statement I will show you here, we have the statement of net position, and the statement of net position presents the financial position of the governmental entity and its discretely presented component units. This statement presents all financial and capital resources using an economic resource measurement focus, and it follows accrual basis of accounting. It serves as a useful indicator as to whether or not the state's overall financial position has improved or deteriorated over time. Next, the government-wide financial statement has a statement of activities, and let me show you the statement of activities. So here we have the statement of activities, and it is like a business income statement for the government. It records all the cost and revenues that are incurred during the year. Both the statements list the revenues and expenses separately in three categories. First of all, we have governmental activities. Now, governmental activities include the executive, legislative, and judicial functions of the government, as well as major service functions such as public safety, health, etc. Now, such activities rely heavily on state taxes and federal grants for funding the program. Then, the second is the business type activities, and such activities are largely self-supporting activities of the government that provide services to the public for a fee, like electricity, water, toll roads, parking facilities, etc. Such state government programs are able to cover all or some portion of the cost by the fees charged. And then the third one is the component units. Now, a governmental component unit is a legally separate organization for which the elected officials of the primary government are financially accountable. Such units operate a business type activity like state government schools, higher education institutions, etc. So, in summary, so far we have talked about government-wide financial statements, where the state government prepare two financial statements, statement of net position and statement of activities. The accounting basis is accrual and measurement focus is economic resources. It records all assets and deferred outflows of resources and all liabilities and deferred inflows of resources, both financial and capital, and short term and long term. It records all revenues and expenses during the year, regardless of when cash is received or paid. So, we have so far talked about the government wide financial statement. And next, let us talk about fund financial statement. And this is very different from government wide financial statement. The fund financial statement report more detailed information about the primary government. These statements present information about major funds individually and about non-major funds taken together for governmental and proprietary fund types. Fund financial statements report on fiscal accountability. Fiscal accountability is defined by the GASB, Governmental Accounting Standard Board, as the responsibility of government to justify that their actions in the current period have complied with public decisions concerning the raising and spending of public monies in the short term, usually 1 year. Therefore, these statements report only the information that is useful in assessing whether financial resources were raised and expended in compliance with budgetary and other legal provisions. Then, modified accrual basis is the basis of accounting for governmental funds, which is a combination of cash basis and full accrual basis. Under modified accrual basis, revenues are recognized when they are both measurable and available. Measurable means the cash flow from the revenues can be reasonably estimated, and available means the revenue is available to finance current expenditures. Modified accrual basis record the flow of current financial resources, cash and near cash resources that are available for expenditure. The state funds do not include component units and are divided into three categories: governmental fund financial statement, proprietary financial statements, and fiduciary statements. Next, let us talk about the three categories of state funds, and we start with governmental fund financial statement. And I would like to go back to the comprehensive annual financial report of New Jersey, and we are going to talk about governmental funds and okay. So here we have the balance sheet, governmental funds, and I would like to show you the government wide also at the same time. Now notice the title of the two statements. For government wide financial funds, it is balance sheet. For governmental funds, we have balance sheet governmental funds, and for government wide balance sheet, we call it statement of net position and not balance sheet government wide funds. You can also see there are assets in the governmental funds balance sheet. There are liabilities, but you can see an unusual presentation in this balance sheet, and that is there are no capital or long term assets as they are in the case of statement of net position, nor there are long term liabilities as they are in the case of statement of net position. Now this is because the measurement focus is flow of financial resources. So in governmental funds balance sheet you will never see long term assets or long term liabilities. Long term assets and liabilities are not reported in governmental fund financial statement, as long term liabilities will not be paid from the current budget, nor long term assets provide resources to pay current year's obligations. However, both are reported in the governmental activities column of the government wide financial statement, and I would like to show you this. You see, this is statement of net position, and you can see governmental activities in the statement of net position, and this is a statement of activities, and in statement of activities again you can see the governmental activities. So they are reported both in the statement of net positions as well as statement of activities in the government wide statements. The financial information to governmental activities are reported in two different places. In the government wide financial statements using the accrual basis of accounting and with the focus on economic resource measurement. In the fund financial statement, using modified accrual basis of accounting and with a focus on current financial resources measurement. GASB standards require that the total fund balance reported on the balance sheet, governmental funds be reconciled to total governmental activities net assets reported in the statement of net assets. Similarly, GASB requires that operating statements results be reconciled for governmental activities too. Accordingly, the state government must reconcile net changes in fund balances with total governmental funds reported on its statement of revenue, expenditure, and changes in fund balance. Governmental funds to the changes in net assets of governmental activities reported on its statement of activities. And let me explain you this with the help of the comprehensive report of New Jersey. And I would like to have two open simultaneously. Okay, so the net position um, okay, statement of activities, and I will put them together so that you can see it conveniently. So these are the two pages of for statement of activities, that is as it cannot be presented on the same page. And you can see the net position for governmental activities is given over here, and this must be reconciled to the net position in the statement of net position, and you can see over here it has to reconcile. And if it does not reconcile, then something has to be investigated, or there are some mistakes in preparing this statement. You can see over here, this is from the statement of net position. I will show you here. This is a statement of net position, and here we have the statement of activities, and in the statement of activities this is the value that is there, and they match. um, then next, let us look into the net position of governmental activities in the reconciliation. 1 minute, let me open the page. So here we have the reconciliation of the governmental funds fund balance sheet to the statement of net position, and the total you can see is net position of governmental activities is here, and this must reconcile to the total net position in the statement of net position, and it must also reconcile with the statement of activities over here. So that's how the numbers are verified in the case of governmental accounting. Then let us look into the balance sheet for the governmental funds. Balance sheet governmental funds, and you can see the total fund balance is given over here at the total governmental funds, and this must reconcile to the fund balance so this must reconcile to the fund balance in the statement of revenue expenditure and changes in fund balances governmental funds, and that is over here. So the two numbers must reconcile to verify in governmental funds. Similarly, I would like to show one more thing over here. We have reconciliation of the changes in fund balances of governmental funds to the statement of activities, and with the we start this with the change in the fund balance that is given over here, and we pick up this value from a statement of revenues. I will show you. We have the statement of revenues, expenditure, and changes in funds balance, and we have the net change in the fund balance of total governmental funds, and we see here net change in the fund balance 10,000. So the two numbers must reconcile to ensure that there are no mistakes or any fraud or misembezzlement. So next, let us talk about the proprietary funds. And the government prepare three proprietary fund financial statements, The proprietary funds are those that are most like funds in the private sector. They are used to account for activities that receive significant support from fees and charges. There are two types of proprietary funds. We have enterprise funds and we have internal service funds. Both the funds operate as self supporting entities and follow accounting practices similar to business organizations. An enterprise fund is a self supporting government fund that sells goods and services to the public for a fee. Enterprise funds are used to account for operations that are financed and operated in a manner similar to private business enterprises, where the intent is that the cost of providing goods or services to the general public on a continuing basis be financed or recovered primarily through user charges. Examples of enterprise funds include municipal utilities such as power, water, and sewer. Fees collected from enterprises should cover the cost of the enterprise. All enterprise funds information is reported in the business type activities column of the government wide statements. An internal service fund is defined as a fund that primarily provide either benefits or goods or services to other funds, departments or agencies of government on a cost reimbursement basis with the goal to break even rather than make a profit. An example of an internal service fund is a maintenance department that provides equipment maintenance services to all departments. A motor pool is another example of an internal service fund. So let me show you how proprietary funds are reported in the Comprehensive Financial Report of New Jersey. And for this, we will jump to the statement of net position proprietary funds. So here you see we have the statement of net position proprietary funds. And I would like to have the another page as well for convenience. Okay, so this is the statement of net position for the state of New Jersey. And you can see that the total net position of business type activities should reconcile to statement of net positions proprietary funds, total net position proprietary fund. The two must reconcile. I would also like to look at the statement of activities. And for statement of activities, again, this is the statement of activities, page number 35. And you can see the business type activities, the two numbers must reconcile. So this is enough for now to explain you, talk about the proprietary funds, and we will discuss more in the as we go into deeper into it in the future videos. Let us now talk about the third category of the state funds, that is the fiduciary funds. And fiduciary funds are used in governmental accounting in order to account for assets that are held in trust for others. In other words, these are the funds that are held by the government as a trustee. They are held on behalf of others and therefore they cannot be used to fund the government's own expenses. Fiduciary funds cannot be used to support the government's own programs That's why they are omitted from the government wide financial statements. The government records fiduciary funds information by using the accrual basis of accounting, and the measurement focus is economic resources. So now we are in a position to introduce comprehensive annual financial report. We have referred it a lot in the discussion so far. So, comprehensive annual financial report is a set of government financial statements comprising the financial report of a state, municipal, or other governmental entity that complies with the accounting requirements promulgated by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And I would like to show this report again. So we have the introductory section, we have the title page, and then we have the content page, and then we have the letter of transmittal. This is the message from the CFO and others if desired. Then we have the financial section, where we have the independent auditor's report. Now this report can be qualified or it can be unqualified. Audit report is said to be clean or unqualified when there are no qualifications in the report. An audit report is considered a qualified report when the auditor expresses an opinion in the report. The report is free from any material misstatements. Misstatements are material but not permissive. Then this also includes MD&A, Management Discussion and Analysis. It is a brief objective narrative providing management's analysis of the government's financial performance. It describes financial statements in a non-technical language. MD&A is a section within the company's annual report or quarterly filing where executives analyze the company's performance. The section can also include a discussion of compliance, risk, plans such as goals and new projects. Then we have the basic financial statement, and here we have the government wide financial statement. We have already talked about it. It is a detailed summary of all the major government funds, how it is spent, and how much money is left. Now, this statement shows in detail each aspect where the government has spent money on and how much money is left. Then we have the funds financial statements. The funds financial statements, they report more detailed information about the primary government. These statements present information about major funds individually and about non-major funds taken together for governmental and proprietary type funds. Then we have the required supplementary information, RSI. Now this is information is designated to accounting standard setter, that is FASB and GASB. They require to accompany the basic financial statements. RSI is not part of the basic financial statement. These are the tables and charts showing multiple year trends in financial and socio-economic information. It shows 10 years history of both financial and socio-economic information. So this is all about the comprehensive annual financial report. And next we go to the federal government financial reporting. And federal financial reporting occurs at two levels: US government wide. Now you see we are not talking about state, now it is US government. and prepared. Now, this US government wide financial statement is prepared by the US Treasury. Management and data deficiencies in some agencies and departments continue to preclude fully auditable government wide financial statement. This type of statements may exist. The consolidated report includes a plain language, that is citizens guide, and it is easier to read than MD&A. A management discussion and analysis, we have already talked about it. Supplemental information require reporting on both budgetary and proprietary operating financial activities, as well as reconciliation of the two activities. Then we have the major agencies and departments. They prepare reports are prepared by each agency and department following the requirements established in Office Management and Budget. Major federal agencies and departments must prepare a performance and accountability report. I would like to show you the performance and accountability report as well. And you can see that performance and accountability report is the process of compiling and documenting factors that quantify an organization's achievements, efficiency, and adherence to budget, comparing actual results against previously articulated goals. The performance and accountability report include four sections. We have the management discussion and analysis. It gives an overview of performance and accountability report and agency's mission. Then we have performance in section containing the annual performance report. We also call it as APR. Then we have the basic financial statement, and we have talked about that before. And then there may be other accompanying information like information about tax burden, tax gap, challenges facing management, and revenue foregone, etc. Finally, let us introduce you to the not for profit organization financial reporting. Now, the primary purpose of not for profit financial statement is to provide decision useful to resource providers such as donors, members, and creditors. Resource providers share the need for information to assess services provided by the not for profit organization and the ability to continue to provide those services, management's performance, and stewardship of resources. FASB standards require that not for profit provide the following financial statements: statement of financial position, statement of activities, statement of cash flows, and statement of functional expenses. Reporting requirements are unique for not for profit organization. Demonstration accountability for donor imposed restrictions by import reporting net assets and changes in net assets into three categories. And I would like to show you again. The, Now this is the a not-for-profit organization by the name American Heart Association, and it is prepared according to the FASB guidelines. We have assets and we have liabilities and net assets, and obviously here also we don't have the stockholders equity or owners equity because there are no owners in this case. Now you see the statement of activities. We have donor restrictions, and these donor restrictions may be permanent or they may be temporary or there may be without restrictions. So when we say permanent restrictions, they restrict net assets, and these are the funds that are left with not for profit organization that must be used in the chosen ways and whose principal amount cannot be expended. The income that is generated on or through the principal amount is then to be spent for funding whatever the donor has contributed for. A common type of permanent restriction asset is real asset. For example, an individual organization may donate a large chunk of real estate to a non-profit entity such as a public university with the restriction that the property only be used to house scientific research labs in perpetuity. Now, if there is a temporary restriction, then temporary restricted net assets are the assets of a not for profit entity that has a special restriction that was imposed by the donor. The restriction either requires that the asset be used in a certain way, or the restriction will be removed after a certain amount of time has passed, or it has to be done before the time passes. So, temporary restricted assets usually are donated for a particular purpose and must be used by a particular date, such as within 1 year or after a year, as the restriction is. An example might be a donation to the Red Crescent for emergency aid delivered to Pakistan after flood. It has to be spent immediately. Then we have unrestricted uh, uh, revenues and unrestricted or net assets, and they are the donations to non-profit organizations that have no strings attached. That is, the asset can be used by the organization for general expenses or any legitimate expenditure. So, this completes our discussion on the second part of Introduction to Accounting and Financial Reporting for Governmental and Not for Profit Entities. Remember, effective questioning brings insight, which fuels curiosity, which cultivates wisdom. If you have any question regarding this session, then please don't hesitate to ask in the comment box or by email, and inshallah I will reply you back. Thank you so much and happy learning.